Good morning, everybody. It is an early morning. My kids got me up really early this morning. Either way, this is no, it's not even a lesson. This is daily math, our morning work, week 27, and this is for Wednesday. So I hope you enjoy it. All right, week 27, Wednesday. Here we go. Making them improper so that we can divide. I noticed that the halves can become eighths, right? 2 times 4 can become 8. So I'm going to leave this one alone, but I'm going to rewrite the other one in eighths. So let's go ahead and make this improper. 8 times 1 is 8, plus 3 is 11, so that's 11 eighths. All right, and then over here, we've got 2, which is going to become 8, right? So that's times 4. And then 1 times 4 would be 4. So I'm going to think of this as 4 eighths, not 1/2. And so now I'm going to do 8 times 1, which is 8, plus 4, which is 12. So it's 12 eighths. And now I'm just going to do 11 divided by 12 because my denominators are the same, which is just going to be 11 twelfths. I'm not going to make these ones match because the only way they can is to make them 15, which is just some bigger numbers. I don't mind 15s, but I think dealing with 4, fifths and 1/3, and then we only have 1 and 2 wholes, which isn't going to do a whole lot more. I'm going to keep it at that. So I'm just going to go ahead and make these improper. That's 10 plus 4. That's 14 fifths. And then 3 times 1 is 3 plus 1. That's 4/3. I'm just going to keep change flip. I'm going to multiply by the reciprocal. Remember, dividing is the same as multiplying by the reciprocal. So I'm going to flip 4/3 to make it 3/4. And just do that straight across. And an interesting thing I've learned about doing, this is 7 times 2, right? And since I'm doing that times 3, that's the same as 7 times 6, because times 2 and times 3 is times 6, and 7 times 6 is 42. So therefore, 14 times 3 is 42. Anyway, and 5 times 4 is 20. And now I'm just going to simplify that, right? I can do 2 20s, and I'm going to have 2 out of 20 left, which of course can be simplified to 1/10. So my answer was 2 and 1/10. For those who wanted to prove it with like denominator division, this is 2 and 4 fifths in 15ths, and this is 1 and 1/3 in 15ths. So you divide 42 by 20, and you end up in the same place with the same result. So we have a number of students, and we're looking for the median, which means first we need to put them in order from least to greatest, which I did that here. Checked them off as I went to make sure that I had them all accounted for. And then I cross out from the outside in and find the true middle, which is 48. 48 is my median. So this is how they want you setting it up. Maybe you like this method, so I'm going to use it. The percentage over 100, right, so 20 hundredths is what 20% means, right, it's a fraction, is the same as 14 over whatever x is. X is our whole that we're looking for, right, because it says 20% is 14. So 14 is a lesser number than whatever x is because a percentage is less than a whole. So this would be a total or a whole amount, and this would be a piece of that amount. So we put the 14 on top of x and then the 20 over 100 because it's how you write percentages. And then you cross multiply. And so that says that 20x, 20 times x, is the same as 14 times 100, which is 1400. So then you just divide by 20, right, because this is 20 times x. So to get rid of the 20 and leave you x, you have 20 divided by 20, and that cancels out. So then you have to do 1400 divided by 20 to make sure that both sides are balanced. And so you can cancel out a 0, and it's really just 140 divided by 2, which is 70. So x is equal to 70, and I'll show you my other 2 methods that I think are just as good, but I like being able to understand what's happening. If you like to cross multiply, and always set it up like this, percentage over 100, right? And then the is part of your what you're looking for. If you already know what 20% is, that goes on top, and then what you're looking for of the total, which in this case is x, goes on the bottom. Then you just cross multiply, and solve for x. So here's what it looks like. This is what you're really looking at. You have this whole amount, which is x. We don't know what x is, but we know what the total of this bar is x amount. And percentage-wise, that would be 100% of it, right? The whole thing. All of something is 100%. That's a whole. And we know that at 20%, it is 14. Now, remember, 20% is 4/5, right? 20, 40, 60, 80, 100. If you divide 100 by 4, you get 20, or divide it by 5, you get 20. And so 20% is 1/5. Did I say 4/5? You know what I mean. Sorry. It's 1/5. And so remembering that helps you easily break it into this picture, into 5 equal pieces. And the first one is 20%, 1/5, which is 14. And so since we know how tape diagrams work, each of these pieces has to be the same quantity. And since this is 14, all of these are 14. So I can do 14 times 5 to figure out the total of x, and 14 times 5 is 70. And here's the last method I'll show you. With easy percentages like 20%, 25%, anything that can become a simplified fraction like this, 1/5, right, that's what 20% is equal to, we already explained that, is going to be the same as 14 compared to its total, right? 5 is the whole, and x is the whole. 1 is our part, 20%, and 14 is our part. So now I just use equivalent fractions to find x, right? How I get from 1 to 14 is times 14, so I'm going to do the same thing to the denominator, 5 times 14. And as we already showed, 5 times 14 is 70, so x is 70. And that's 3 different methods. All right, remember to find the mean is to add up all your numbers, make a lump sum, and then divide them into the equal groups of how many numbers of data there are. So we're going to add up all 4 of these numbers and then divide by 4. So I got 246 when I add them up, and I divided by 4. And 4 goes into 24 6 times, which is 24, and then into 6 1 time, which leaves you 2 out of 4, which of course is 1/2. And so 1/2 is the same as 0.5, and you could keep this going into decimal form, but we should know that 1/2 is 0.5. So 61.5 is our mean. So before we go to the graph, let's see if we can calculate the distance, right, between the 2 points by looking at the ordered pairs. You'll notice our x coordinates are the same, so they are the same distance to the left of 0, which means we're going to have a vertical line. All right, and that vertical line is going to go from -5 up to -1. So this is what we're really finding the distance between. How far is -5 from -1? Right, if this is -5, which would be lower than that, right, we're going to go -4, -3, -2, -1. It's going to be this far apart, which is 1, 2, 3, 4 units. So the distance should be 4 units apart. Let's go prove it. So here is my plotted points. This is -2, -5, -2, -1, and you can see they are 1, 2, 3, 4 units apart. Okay, filling out the chart, remember you're looking for the relationship from one side to the next, and that should be multiplication or division. So going to the right, it's times 3. 1 times 3 is 3, 2 times 3 is 6, and which means going to the left would be the opposite of times 3, which is divided by 3. 12 divided by 3 is 4, so we can do 8 times 3 to find our missing value, which is 24, and we can do 36 divided by 3, that's a 3, to get our missing value of 12. So reading the equation is pretty simple, but we need to stop and think. So to find x, we're going to take y and subtract 3. That's all this says. To find x, these values, this is our x values, these are our y values, right? Ordered pairs are an x and a y. So to find x, we're going to take whatever y is and take 3 away. If y is 10, you take 3 away, you get 7. So x is 7. So on and so forth. 8 minus 3 is 5, 6 minus 3 is 3, and 4 minus 3 is 1. So to explain why negative 13.4 is greater than negative 13.7 is to understand that they're both negatives, so they're both to the left of 0. 0 would be way over there. And they are between negative 13 and negative 14. So I drew a number line, and I cut it into 10 pieces because these are tenths. So this is 4/10, this is 7/10. And then from 13, remember this would be like 12 over here, so negative 13. This would be negative 13.1, negative 13.2, negative 13 and 3/10. Here is negative 13 and 4/10. 5/10, 6/10, 7/10. So I mark my 2 points, and remember the bigger number on a number line is the one farther to the right, because up over there we have our positive numbers and 0, and so all of those are bigger than negative numbers, so this number is farther to the right, and therefore negative 13 and 4/10 is our greater number, and our alligator always bites the greater number. Well, there you have it. I'm going to go drink some coffee. You have a great day.